Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The JAYREELZ podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I gotta call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming correct, direct, and in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the JAYREELZ podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic, in excellent spirits. It's a new week and a big week when it comes to what's happening in sports, and you've come to the right place to listen to anything and everything that's happening in the universe, as this is the JAYREELZ podcast with JAYREELZ. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle, or even as early as this past Thursday, I welcome you guys and gals back. And with all that is about to take place and all that has taken place here in the sports landscape, tonight we have a champion that's going to be crowned. We'll have another champion crowned in the first major in golf, which will start on Thursday, the Super Bowl of golf, that being the Masters. We have baseball, a rematch of a World Series that took place last year, which will be tomorrow. I mean, what better time can it be to be a sports fan than now? I don't know, but let's get right to it as we break it all down. And I appreciate everybody that's stopping by. I'm actually also live, not only here on YouTube, but as well as Twitch, JAYREELZ1 for those who are on Twitch. On top of today, I even threw it into Instagram. Just kind of get a feel to see how that's going to go. But YouTube is the channel. Please subscribe as I put out content on a daily basis. Obviously, with the two live streams here with the podcast. I have another live stream on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and all the content and a lot more content to come down the road. So please support independent sports podcasting at its finest right here on the channel. I would sincerely appreciate it at JAYREELZ. All right. Now that I got that out the way, let's get right to it. The Final Four, 2 games there on Saturday. Let's face it, they were not great games. In fact, one was a laugher, that being Michigan. And the other, I felt, which I'm going to start there with UConn, I felt that the Huskies weren't in any danger. Even when they were up by 14 with about 9 minutes to go, and the Fighting Illini made a run, a 10-0 run that cut it to 57-53. And to me, I said, all right, are they going to have enough gas to extend this run to get to a point where they're within a basket, or even better yet, take the lead to really put the Huskies on their heels? And you did not get it. In fact, to me, the play of the game was at 63-59. UConn had the ball, and it looked like Illinois, they were ready to grab a rebound, squirted out. Next thing you know, gets kicked around. Braylon Mullins with a 3 at the top of the key, nails it. 4-point lead becomes 7, and that was your game. I wish there was more to add, because to me, UConn was in control of this game. Now, I understand that the Fighting Illini had opportunities, they had chances, but even when they cut it to 4, I still felt that UConn was going to be okay. I didn't think that there was going to be a situation where, all right, well, now they're going to be in trouble. They're on the ropes. It's a situation where you're going to think that UConn was really going to be up against it, despite the fact that it looked like the Illini were charging. They looked like they were coming. But I never felt or sensed any danger, and I'm not a UConn fan in the least, that I thought, oh, geez, this is where the game's going to slip away, and that's that. Not at all. I wish there was more to add to this game. I know Keaton Wagler had a very good game there for Illinois, and you could throw in Merkovich, who had, was okay in the game, and even Peja Stojakovic, son Andre. they were not able to have any of the grit, the toughness, and that's what you saw there from UConn. And yes, I understand they played from in front, and they had a lead that was certainly more than manageable, and they did not panic. They didn't look at the run that Illinois put forth and made you think that, we're not going to come out of this game alive. That's when they really battened down the hatchets, and it was emblematic by that one play there, because I believe, off the top of my head, it was a missed rebound that Illinois, and it looked like they're going to go to the other end of the court, maybe cut it to two, who knows, even one. And then UConn was able to get the ball. They kicked it around, and then Mullins drained that three, and that was it. To me, that was the game. And the biggest play of the game, I should say. So when UConn, for all of their championship DNA and all of their guts, grit, everything was put to the test and put on the line, what did they do? Rose to the occasion, like they've done other than last year, but the two prior years when they went back-to-back. And what more can you say? And I'm going to get to UConn more so in a minute when it comes to this matchup against Michigan, because to get to the Michigan game, now at least I gave you about 3-4 minutes of an assessment there. The Michigan-Arizona game, that was a complete disappointment. I thought going in, you had the 2-1 seeds in each of their regions. You had two teams that have pretty much been battling it out all year with Duke for the number one seed overall. And we know Arizona has those freshmen. We know that they're young. They have just big bodies everywhere. But Michigan also has the same. And what Michigan did, they didn't put it on Arizona. They took them to the back of the woodshed. And they left no doubt in anybody's mind that they belonged in the national championship game, and you would think are going to be the odds-on favorite to win tonight. And this is even, think about this. If I would have told you at the start of the game that Yaxel Landenborg would have 2 fouls, 1:20 into the game, later in that half, he would turn his ankle to where he'd be out of the game, and that they would put up a performance that was otherworldly, you would be like, JAYREELZ, you're high. And when I say otherworldly, again, they were up by 30 in this game at one point, and they cruised to victory. And then Landenborg did come back in the second half, got treatment, made a couple of threes. This was the game that you could have turned your sets off at 26-10. Arizona, they had no answers. I don't want to say they came out flat. To me, Michigan just, and this is with Landenborg on the bench in foul trouble. And give it up. Morris Johnson played great. Ade Mara with the 26 points was a career high for him, the big man from Spain. You like what you saw from Elliot Cadeau. I understand he didn't shoot well, but man, his passing was impeccable and pushed up the rock, had Arizona on their heels, and they just beat the brakes off of them. I mean, there isn't anything else you could say about the game than that. I understand Landenborg's ankle. Everybody's going to be questioning about that tonight, which I'll talk about. But that was a game where it was highly anticipated. A lot of people thought that this was going to be the national championship game. And instead, it was a dud. There's no other way to cut it. No other way to put it. That's just how it was. And I understand there was a lot swirling over the head of Tommy Lloyd. Rumors are going to North Carolina. You even heard Dusty May. His name got thrown into the hat in the ring, and he said that I'm not going anywhere. And Tommy Lloyd signed a 5-year extension at Arizona, so he's not leaving. But, I mean, both of those games, yeah, maybe a little bit with the first game, but the second game, there was no doubt. And now it leads you to tonight. And I'm going to say this. I picked Michigan to win the whole thing back, 3 weeks ago? Or was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks? Somewhere around there, 2-3 weeks ago. And I like Michigan based on their depth. You saw that there the other night too. I mean, they played great. Trey McKinney, they got contributions everywhere. And when you look at this game tonight and you saw the performance that they put forth there Saturday against Arizona, even UConn, for their pedigree, etc., you still have to even think like, wait a minute, how are we going to slow or stop this team? Here's what I'll say about this game tonight. I think it's either going to be a blowout where Michigan's going to get in the 90s again, which I don't think that's going to be the case, but they're either going to put it on UConn, or I think UConn's going to win. And people can say, well, JAYREELZ, that's not going out on a limb. Well, let me explain. I think if it's a close game within 5, let's say even 7, 8 minutes to go, that's where UConn's going to say, we got him. Because look at the game against Duke, what we saw there in the regional final, where Duke had no business losing that game. And I think Michigan, I could see them playing a little tight. I understand they're maybe a little bit more together as far as the unit goes. They have Landenborg as a senior. They have guys that have been around the block. This isn't a team that has a ton of freshmen that, because they've blown everybody out in this tournament, that right now they're in the middle of a close game. It's like, oh, geez, what do we do? But even then, I still feel UConn will prevail because they'll find a way, because they always seem to, right? And I understand that's not a guarantee. It's just a prediction. But I think if Michigan's going to play from in front all night, forget it. And I even think that if UConn goes up big early and Michigan comes back, I think they'll win. The thing I fear is Michigan playing from in front, similar to what Duke did, and then UConn just chips away to where Michigan then tries too much. Michigan not going to play their game. Now they're playing UConn's game, and therefore that's what's going to implode on them. That's how I look at this game tonight. And there's a theme here, which I'm going to talk about with the women's and the University of South Carolina, so just keep that in mind. But the other thing that I fear about Michigan, too, is that they've blown everybody out. They're the first team in NCAA history to have, in their first 5 games of this tournament, score at least 90. And I thought they were going to hit 90 on Saturday. I predicted 92-87. I was thinking 92-71 or whatever the final was, 93-71, 72, whatever it was. But how I look at how this game's going to unfold, I can't see Michigan, and I'm going to say in this regard, Michigan played almost a perfect game there on Saturday. I don't see that here. I think they can play well. I think they're going to play to the way Michigan plays, but I don't see this being a runaway pretty much from the jump. Could it happen? Yeah, it could, but I don't see that. UConn has too much know-how. They know what's going to take. And listen, if you're going to take which team is better, you're taking Michigan hands down. I mean, come on. They haven't just blown by everybody by luck. But they have, UConn has that intangible. And that's something that you cannot erase or not deny. And that's why I broke it down the way I did. I think either Michigan goes away, and I'm not saying they're going to win by 21. Let's say they win comfortably, 15, 18. Maybe their highest deficit, they go up by 18. But UConn, they cut it to 7, and they end up winning by 13. Somewhat of a rocking chair type game. I could see that. But on top of all that, it would scare me if UConn is going to be in the game, like I said, that 5 to 7 minute range. And less than that, forget it. If it's a rock fight to where, let's say it's 3 minutes to go and Michigan's up 62-58, I'd be nervous if you're Michigan. Because you know that UConn will find a way to cut down those nets, and the next thing you know, your head's spinning. But I think Michigan, with all that they've done this year, and could they lose a game? Absolutely. 1,000%. But Michigan showed you their depth the other night, and this is even with Landenborg on a bum ankle, which he said absolutely he's going to play, And I think he's going to play. He may not play 30 minutes unless all of a sudden he's 100% healthy, but just him in the lineup is going to be a boost and a boon. And I get it. UConn has their players, Harris Reed and Braylon Mullins and Alex Caravan and the other kid, Silas Demery. They have excellent players, gritty players, tough players, guys that you'd want to have on your team. But Michigan, with their length, they could play half court. They could play in transition. Obviously, UConn doesn't want to get in a track meet with them. And I have to say, would I be shocked if Michigan lost? I'd only be shocked if they lost in the way that Duke lost. If that were to be Michigan tonight, I'd be surprised, though, because Michigan's been a machine all year. And why would that let up now? But we all know that damn intangible, it's going to be hanging over UConn's head. They'll be like, hey, to kill us, you're going to have to cut our heads off and put a stake through the hearts. Sorry for the graphic description, but that's how it's going to be. I think Michigan tonight, I think it could be a rocking chair game. I think it's going to be tooth and nail. I don't think it's going to be as close as a lot of people think. Would I be shocked if it is? I would not, because of UConn there on the other side. And I think this is a game that college basketball wanted. Michigan, Illinois, I get it, Big Ten, but that would have, But you have UConn there, a team that has won recently. And actually, think about this, which is even hard to wrap your head around. If UConn somehow, some way wins tonight, since 1999, this will be their 7th national championship. Think about that. 7. And this will be the 3rd and 4th year, 4 years for Hurley, which then, let's go to the Connecticut side on that ledger when you have what they're going for. Are they destined to get that 3rd title in 4 years? Not only that, but history. Now, I understand it's not the UCLA Bruins of John Wooden, Lou Alcindor, and Bill Walton. It is not. But we haven't seen anything close to that since they won all those titles. Or they won 8 in a row from what, 68 to 75, I think it was. So to know that they have that on their side, and you know Coach Hurley's going to be pushing that. Nobody thinks they're going to beat this team. We don't have a shot. Everybody's just dismissing us. And I will say this. This is one benefit. Well, I'll get back to one thing on the Michigan side I just thought of. But I'm sure that's what Coach Hurley's going to be preaching here over the next, I don't know, look at my watch, 12 hours? No, less than that. Maybe 12 hours. In the middle of the game, he's going to say the same thing. Nobody believes in us. We never had a shot, blah, blah, blah. And there is a lot at stake for them when it comes to history, because we have not seen a team win 3 in 4 years. Roy Williams never did it. Mike Krzyzewski never did it. Bill Self, Rick Pitino, John Calipari. Danny Hurley could do that tonight. Dean Smith. And that's the thing. Their date with destiny and history for UConn is right in front of them. But I think it's Michigan's year. It's their time. That performance the other night, which now I'll get to, I was a little bit worried about Michigan playing a literal 15-round heavyweight knockdown, drag-out type of fight to where it would have been, let's say, 92-87, or dare I say the game went into overtime where UConn would have been in bed at that point. But because it was such a rocking chair game, that goes out the window. To me, it even shows more of Michigan's dominance and how they performed throughout this entire tournament. And that's why I think Michigan, I think they could crack 80. I think they'll get high 70s. I could see this being Michigan 78, UConn 68. or maybe they do crack 80, low 80s, though. I don't see over 82, 82.60, 82.70. I can see that tonight. You know what? I'll say 82.70. Because, listen, they've been a juggernaut here. In Arizona, a lot of people thought Arizona, based on a lot of people I've heard, even former coaches, said, I like this Arizona team. And what happened? That was belt to ass, to be blunt, in that game. And I don't know if it's going to be like that tonight, but I think Wolverine pride will rise to the occasion and they'll win the national championship. So that's what I got with the college basketball. Now, let me get to the women's real quick because there's a couple of things I want to discuss. Congratulations to UCLA. Dominant performance in what was a clinic. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, which was similar to what we saw there with Michigan and Arizona. But I want to get to Friday night because you had a scenario between South Carolina, UConn. Remember, they played for the national championship last year where UConn eviscerated them. What was it, 82-59? Complete destruction. Geno back on the mountaintop. What is it now, 13 or 14? I don't even know how many national championships he's won. And then this year, they meet in the semifinal. And I did not watch basket for basket. I was in and out of it, but then I saw SC was pretty much dominant from the start, pulled away second half. I was ecstatic. I said, wow, look at this. What was it, 64-42, whatever the final was? And I didn't see the live. I didn't see the ending of it, but then social media started pumping it out with Geno Auriemma, a rift with he and Dawn Staley. So I had to go back, analyzed it, saw it, etc. Watched the post game, saw what Geno said, didn't really say much. But Dawn Staley said, what is he talking about? I talked to him. I shook his hand pregame. Geno came out and said, I waited out there for 3 minutes and I didn't see her shake her hand. Like Geno black out? And when you see the exchange there at the end of the game, they shake hands, but you see Auriemma, like he's pointing, and Dawn looks incredulous, like, what are you talking about? And to me, that was just sour grapes. That was him being a sore loser. His team just got their ass handed to him, and he's going to gripe, bicker, moan, whatever it is. And when you see him in the post game, oh, I waited for 3 minutes, and it's just deflecting, pointing fingers, not looking in the mirror. And then what happens? Was it Saturday night? He issues an apology. Do we give him a pass for that? I'm not. He should know better. If he was a young coach that hasn't been to a Final Four, or maybe a young coach that's been down this road, even then I would still expect some professionalism and expect him to own up to that. But I would give him a pass then. Not after you've won a zillion championships, not after you've been to 25 Final Fours. I get it, there's a little bit maybe of a rivalry. Now I guess it's heightened even more. A little bit more of a rivalry between schools, and in this particular case with the coaches. And Dawn Staley said all the right things in her postgame. So no knocking. I know yesterday with the UCLA coach, he's dapping up and hugging it out and even made some things. Obviously, those are indirects towards Geno. And yeah, that may be a little bit petty, but you know what? Hey, she has a right. She beat the brains out, or her team beat the brains out of the Lady Huskies, who were undefeated and looked like they were on the road to another national championship until that got smacked down. But then for Geno to, this apology, I apologize. And he didn't make one apology to Coach Staley, by the way. Everything was just toward the team. And I can even pull it up. But, yeah, there was no mention of Staley. Let's see if I can pull this up while I'm live here. And I just thought it was lame. It was weak. And how I looked at it was that, wait a minute, now you're going to try to do damage control in response to what happened there Friday night? Let's see if I can pull this up. No, this is a Friday night. All right, apologizes for outburst. All right, here's his quote. There's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. And this was a statement through the school. It's unlike what I do and what our standard is here at Connecticut. I want to apologize to the staff and the team at South Carolina. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should be how well South Carolina played, and I don't want my actions to detract from that. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize to them. All right, and you can say the staff is Dawn Staley, but no. How that whole thing got started was because of your outburst towards Staley. So you know what? I understand you blanketed it by saying the staff, the entire team, blah, 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 but no. And that's why Staley came out with the pounding the bear hug with the UCLA coach because, and remember, that was Saturday night he issued this? Or whenever it was. But still, I'm not buying it. Geno, listen, I get it. All the respect for what you've done in your career, but I am not buying anything you're selling. To me, that was just weak. That was just deplorable how you acted there. And listen, if it was just a cold handshake and you walk off, okay, all right, fine. Or even if it was just a quick congratulations, all the best moving forward, and you walked away, great. Nobody said you had to give her a hug. Nobody said you had to stay there for 20 minutes, whatever. But that was just awful. And his post game, when I saw that, I was like, oh, please. And then with the statement, his apology, lame. Flat out lame. And he's lost respect in my books. And I've never been a fan of UConn. Listen, I'm a Georgetown guy, so I got to even root for UConn. But anyway, so that's what you got there. And I will say this in conclusion before I move to the NBA. It's interesting because this is what I talked about earlier with Michigan. You kind of wonder, and this goes for all sports. This has nothing to do with the college women's game to the men's game, whatever. But when you think about teams that have had the big dominant performance the game before, a la South Carolina, UConn, and you saw what happened yesterday. I mean, it was almost as if Dawn Staley and company had it out for UConn based on what happened a year ago in the championship game where they got embarrassed, where knowing that performance yesterday, I got the sense that the semifinal versus UConn, that was their national championship. And then they just came out flat. That whatever gas was in the tank was all to just try to do what they can to not only beat but embarrass UConn. And they were successful. But they forgot there was one more game to play and they had nothing in the tank. Which I'd be a little fearful with Michigan tonight. Not to say that everybody thought Arizona was going to win. And even though there are a lot of people that said that, but it wasn't a landslide. Oh, Michigan has no shot. There's no way they're going to come out victorious. And then they did so in such dominating fashion that you could argue, what will they have left in the tank coming into the game tonight? Are they going to come out flying? Is it going to be like a boxer? They're going to feel each other, whatever, coming out of the gate? Or they're just going to come out like gangbusters, similar to what they did at Arizona with a carbon copy tonight against UConn. That's going to be fascinating. And those are things you got to think about when you have a game like this, because it's a quick turnaround and you're going to have to bring that intensity, bring everything one more time. And I get it. It's a national championship game. If you're not up for this game, then go home. Why would you even play? Understood. But that's one thing. If you're Michigan, you'd only hope that they don't come out anything close as flat as South Carolina did, because if that's going to be the case, then it's going to be a long evening for the Wolverines. But we shall see. Looking forward to it. All right, I'm going to get to all the comments later. For those who are chiming in, I appreciate everybody who was on board. Thank you so much for stopping by. You already know. Let me just hold on one second. Let me just bounce over here to get to my NBA, because I'm going to keep the high tops on and get to the association. 1 second. All right. If you're a Laker fan right now, and there's a couple in the room, right now you have to be a little concerned. That's an understatement. I get it. Now, there's a team that prior to the game against Oklahoma City on Friday night, you had won 13-14. I even talked about it I believe, on the podcast, maybe the last Monday or the Thursday before, how the Lakers, you're wondering if they're peaking at the right time or have they peaked because of this winning streak? And now you had Luka leave the game against OKC with the hamstring. And then you had a situation where now Austin Reaves has this oblique where he's going to be out. They say 4 to 6 weeks. And Luka indefinitely. The playoffs start a week from this Saturday. So they have some time, but is that going to be enough for a hamstring? That seems to be nagging Luka for years, because I believe he's had this type of situation with his hamstring dating back to his days in Dallas. And then with Reaves, now you have this oblique issue with that's a rough one to overcome. The Lakers are in peril. There's no other way to cut it. Obviously, LeBron can't do it all. And even though LeBron last night almost had a triple-double carrying the mail, but you can only hope. And I'm sure right now as I speak, Luka's on a flight. If not, he's somewhere in Europe getting treatment for this. Is that a stem cell? Is that a PRP? A platelet-rich plasma injection? Who knows? But I will say this. As an NBA fan, I would hope that they get back healthy. Now, how healthy they're going to be is a 60% Luka or a 50% Austin Reaves. Is that going to be good enough to maybe get past one round? But we all know you're the Lakers. It's not about getting past a round. It's not getting 2 rounds or to a conference final. It's about going to and winning an NBA championship. So, listen, I can't forecast that right now. It certainly doesn't look good, and that's not a shock. But all you could attribute this is to bad timing for a team that was riding high, a team that, when healthy, they could be dangerous without question. And I think that as a 3 seed, they would give the Spurs all they can handle. And I know young legs, even though inexperienced, etc. I mean, that is the perfect series to where you have a team that has all the experience versus one that doesn't. But are you going to get these guys back? And are they going to be effective? Are they going to be efficient? Are they going to be a team that could push? And I know I'm getting ahead of myself because that means that the Lakers would beat either the T-Wolves or Rockets or the Nuggets if they fall down to the 6th seed. But obviously we're not going to know until these guys are back on the floor being effective. Not trying to say they're going to play 42 minutes. I guess they're going to have to if they're going to try to win these series, because you're going to be in the playoffs. This isn't a time to micromanage minutes or play time, etc. And I get it that they're going to be nursing injuries and not going to be 100%. But this is a blow. And this is a blow for the NBA fan, because you'd want to see the Lakers go far. You want to see them in the tournament, push it. You don't want to see them go out in the first round like you saw them last year in 5 games, or get to a second round and it's let's say a 6-game series, but was there any doubt? Where San Antonio's up 2-1 or 2-0 and they're up 3-1 going back to San Antonio, and maybe they lose a game 5, but they go to LA and the next thing you know, it's halftime and it's 72-40. I mean, you don't want to see a series like that. You want to see competitive, all out, deep series. But we'll see. Obviously, I am not a doctor. I can't forecast. We're just going to have to find out how they're going to hold up and heal here over the next really 2 weeks, because they haven't played since the beginning of the weekend. Even with the playoffs starting next weekend, they're going to miss game 1. They'll probably miss the first 2 games of that series, and then maybe game 3 on the road. So you're thinking 2.5 weeks. Who knows? But we shall see when it comes to what the Lakers are going to look like at that time. That's been the big story. As far as anything else happening in the NBA, I know you had Steph return back from the knee injury last night, the game against Houston, where he scored 29 points in 26 minutes and had a chance to win the game with a 3 at the end, but was unsuccessful. But here's the thing. Are the Warriors going to have it in them to win 2 games to get to the 8th seed? That's it. I know Al Horford's supposed to be on the return at some point this week. Kristaps, what is he going to give you? I know he has this ailment, which is in and out from one day to the next. And talk about a team, if you're an NBA fan, you want to see in the bulk of the tournament, and that's why they got to win 2 games. You don't want to see them in the one game and then they get blown out, or, all right, they may win it to extend their season to Friday, but even then, their season could still end on Friday. But if you're a Warrior fan, you just hope for 2 wins starting either next Tuesday or Wednesday, because that's when the play-in tournament will commence. So with Steph, hopefully he gets his wind in his sails over the course of this last week of the season. Obviously a big performance there last night, fell short, and who knows? I'm sure right now he's got probably both of his legs in a bucket somewhere at home, and he has the Normatec sleeves getting that compression going, because he is not a spring chicken anymore, despite the fact that he can still put up big numbers, as you saw there last night. And then you have this weird scenario, I got to bring this up, with the Bucks and Giannis, which I don't know if this adds any more strain to the relationship between their franchise player and the organization. It's been reported that Giannis, who has claimed at times where he has been healthy and wants to play, but the medical staff and the team has not cleared him to play. And I understand that the Bucks have had a lost season here. Obviously, they're not going to make it into the playoffs. But you have to wonder, he said, are the Bucks telling the truth about Giannis's health? Or is Giannis saying, no, I want to go out and play? I have to say this. If Giannis feels like he's healthy to play, mind you, and they have been a dead team walking here, I'm sure if he's healthy to play, he's going to want to play. To me, that is also an indictment on how he wants to play, even though that the team is not going to make it to the postseason. I'm sure he wants to show to the rest of the league that he is healthy, that he's not damaged goods, that this coming off season, I'm sure whatever discussions are going to be made between he and the front office, that he's going to want to let the 29 other teams say, hey, I'm ready to play. I want to play. And I'm healthy enough to play. But the Bucks are telling you otherwise. But the Bucks are showing you otherwise. As you hear my dog in the background, my apologies. But you also have to think, too, the Bucks, they have nothing to lose here. Like, why would they put Giannis on the shelf if he's healthy? For what? To protect him from not getting injured? I mean, if he's healthy to play, why not? What's the problem? Or is Giannis trying to blow smoke up our rear ends to say, no, I am healthy enough to play? Listen, I'm leaning more toward Giannis here because he's been a good soldier. He's wanted to stay on this team. He's never asked out. Yeah, there's been discussions, but not to the extent where he's pulled that player empowerment card, unlike Kyrie Irving, unlike James Harden, unlike Kawhi Leonard, you go down the list. LeBron to a certain extent. So he's one that he's a little bit more trustworthy in that regard. But this is a situation where I think with how this has unfolded, the season, the direction of this team, I wouldn't be surprised if Giannis says, you know what, my time has come. It's time for me to leave. Despite him, not too long ago, I think it was right around the All-Star break, I believe he had an interview with Malika Andrews saying that, no, I want to stay here. I've talked it out with them, whatever. But now maybe it's a bridge too far where it's time for him to leave. And you know what? He has every right at this point. And if that's what he wants to do, yeah, you would like to see the one guy play for one organization for his entire career. I'd love that. You don't see that in sports. Forget about basketball. But right now, it may be a situation where the time has come that once they get into the offseason, and especially when the rumor mill in late June heading into the free agency period, Giannis is going to say, hey, I've washed my hands. So something to keep in mind as we move it along because, yeah, that story was a wild one. Now, let me see what I have here. Standings. Listen, people, it's nothing you don't already know. I've been talking about this forever, or so it seems. But we know where we're at here with the East and the West. The only thing I'm going to look at here is the 7 through 10 range in both conferences because we talk about, I'll start with the East. I was going to go Golden State. But with 4 games left, some have 3, Charlotte in particular. You have Atlanta looks like they're fine. They're going to be, looks like entrenched in the 5. You have Philly, Toronto, Charlotte, Orlando, Miami, all separated by 2 games. So this could flip. Charlotte has won 4 in a row. Right now, I would think they would like to try to get into the 6th seed and knock the Sixers out so they could be in the bulk of the tournament. So what we have here is that logjam to where you have literally 5 teams for the 1 spot for the 6th seed. I understand a little bit insurmountable for Miami because to make up 2 games over the last 4, they'd have to run the table, and then Philly would have to lose 2 games. Philly does play at San Antonio, so that could help Miami in particular or some of the other teams that are below them, but that's the fascinating race if you want to look at it from that regard if you're into the play-in. And then you have the 3 through 6, as we've talked about a million times. Really, it's 3, 4, and 5 because Minnesota right now, they're going to be entrenched in that 6th seed. So whomever comes out of that, LA, Denver, Houston, where LA and Denver have the same record, 50 and 28. Houston is at 49 and 29. Both the Nuggets and Rockets, respectively, have won 8 and 6 in a row. And even though the Rockets are a team that I can't trust, but the Nuggets, I would think they want to try to get to that 3 seed just to avoid OKC. Not that to be afraid of them, but as I've talked about a million times. And then the playing scenario out west, Phoenix is going to host the Clippers or the Trailblazers. I guess you got that going for them, where the Clippers and Trailblazers both have the same record, 40 and 38. Golden State, they're going to be on the road, whether in Portland or at LA to play the Clippers. So that's what you have there with the NBA. Nothing else to really add. I mean, that's it. Celtics look like they're going to be the 2. They have a 3-game lead over the Knicks, although they do play one another Thursday. But as we take a look at the schedule, tonight you have on Peacock, because the game's not going to be on NBC because of the national championship, Knicks in Atlanta. You have Detroit at Orlando, Cleveland at Memphis, teams that have playoff implications. Philly at San Antonio, Portland at Denver. Tomorrow, NBC double dip, Charlotte at Boston, followed by Houston at Phoenix. And then in between, OKC at the Lakers, Dallas at the Clippers, Miami at Toronto. That's a big game there because Toronto's ahead of them in the standings, as we talked about. Minnesota, Indiana. Yeah, those are the only important games on the docket there. Sacramento, Golden State, only because of Golden State, but they are entrenched in the 10 seed. And then Wednesday, ESPN double dip, Atlanta at Cleveland, Portland at San Antonio. Then you have Minnesota at Orlando, Memphis, Denver, OKC at the Clippers, Dallas, Phoenix. And that rounds out. And then Thursday, like I mentioned, Boston at the Knicks, LA at Golden State is both prime video games. Philly at Houston. Philly with a rough schedule here down the stretch. Then they go to Indiana. Miami at Toronto. So look at that. Miami at Toronto here tonight and Thursday. And then they must play, let me see. Then they play at Washington, and I guess the last game is at home Sunday. Tough stretch there for Miami. We'll see if they get out of that 10 seed, but we'll break it all down there come Thursday as we get closer to the end of the regular season, which concludes on Sunday. Now let me put on my skates, lace them up, because I got a couple things to get off my chest here. One about my team, but first about my former coach. That being Patrick Roy, New York Islanders. So they fired Patrick Roy over the weekend with 4 games left in the season. This is on the heels of the Vegas Golden Knights firing Bruce Cassidy with, I believe, 8 games left for John Tortorella. And if you remember what I said then about that coaching fire, I'm going to say the same thing about this one. Now, I understand that the Islanders ship has sprung a ton of leaks. They've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 7 of their last 10. And did something have to be done this late in the season? I guess. But how I look at this is a complete panic move. And here's the other thing, too, that I got to throw in as well. It's not only a panic move from the standpoint of it's a team that is literally hanging on for their dear life. And right now, they currently, as I'm pulling up the stats here, it's not as if this team controls their own destiny. They did a week ago today, and this is what I talked about over the last couple of weeks. The Islanders had the 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division over the Pittsburgh Penguins, and whom they played a week ago today. But they were literally a couple of points away from being outside of the playoff picture altogether. And because of this 4-game losing streak that we've seen, losing to the Penguins, losing in Buffalo, they lose to the Flyers, they lose in Carolina, and now they're on the outside looking in, still with the slimmest of margins, as I'll break down the standings. So all is not lost, even though they do not control their own destiny. But here's the problem that I have with this firing at this time, despite the fact that things are literally going awry. So you're going to bring in Peter DeBoer, a guy who knows his way around winning from the standpoint of getting to a Stanley Cup final. Did that with the Devils in 2012. Did that in the inaugural year of the Vegas Golden Knights. Did not win the cup in those years. But you mean to tell me you're going to bring in a coach with 4 games left to try to turn your season around? And DeBoer, who I get it, is a veteran coach, knows his way around the league. I don't know what he's going to tell them that maybe Roy didn't. But to me, this is a case, I don't know if this is from the ownership or from the first-time GM, Matthew Darsh, but this reeks panic move. What is DeBoer going to do in the last 4 games and I get it. Maybe Roy, I don't know. Did the message went in one ear and out the other with the players at this point? And I get it. They lost to the Blackhawks at home. Bad game. You can't lose to Chicago. The Penguin game, they were up 3-1, 7 unanswered goals. All right. Not good either. You could lose in Buffalo. Oh, hang on. I hope I didn't lose you guys because my laptop just went. No, I think I'm still good. Yeah, I do not like this move. I'd rather them ride it out with Roy, and then the day after, next Friday, you send them packing. What DeBoer's going to do here over the course of this next 10 days, even if they win 4 in a row, then you're going to give him a 5-year contract extension? And again, I understand the GM made this move. I don't want to say, I guess you could say it's a rookie move doing it this late. But we'll see. And the on the schedule is not easy either. And that's what I was pulling up here. I said I was pulling up the stats. It was really the schedule. So the Islanders, this is what they have. And they had a tough schedule even prior to this. I understand the Blackhawk game. I just gave you the games they played. The Penguins, who they're fighting for home ice in the first round. Buffalo, who finally clinched their first playoff in 15 years. Now the Jets hold the longest drought of the 4 major sports as far as not making the playoffs at 15 years. They had to play the Flyers, who were fighting for their playoff lives and they're in the thick of things. And then Carolina, who they're trying to get a 1 seed in the East. So tell me about a tough schedule. But here it is down the stretch. So their final 4 games are as follows. They play Toronto after 5 days off, which they probably and desperately need. All right, fine. But then they have the rest of their games are at home. So that's a good thing. But after the Toronto game, they host Ottawa, who's in the fight, and they actually have the second wild card right now. They host the Canadiens, who are going to the playoffs, and Carolina, as I just talked about. So, yeah, they may have Toronto coming in, which I guess is a layup for the new coach that's coming in. So it's not as if they're coming in against a world beater, but I don't like that. I don't. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. To me, it's a combination of the GM making a panic move to try to bring in somebody else to salvage this run and bringing in this coach. Listen, and if they go 1-3 and don't make the playoffs, now they're going to have to go minimum 3-1. That's it. Anything more would be great. I'm not expecting that right now, but I'd have to say they're probably not going to make the playoffs. That schedule is tricky. And this is the NHL. This isn't the NBA where there's going to be, oh, we're going to rest players. Oh, we're going to do that. No. There's no load management in the NHL. These players are going to play through. Even if Carolina already has, and I don't know, we'll look at the standings in a moment, but this has just been a flat disaster. This Islander team where a week ago, riding high, looked like they were going to, and not that I felt that, but I thought that they were going to put themselves in enough position where tough schedule, yes, and here they are. Now watch, next Monday, and mind you, they're off till Thursday. But by then, they will have played Thursday, Saturday, because then the other 2 games are what? Monday and I think Thursday. No, they're going to play back-to-back, Sunday and then Tuesday. My apologies. So although the season ends next Thursday, the 16th, their season will conclude next Tuesday. And you have to sit around and wait around to see how the rest of the schedule is going to fall, hopefully into their favor. Oh, what a mess with the Islanders. And obviously that's been the big news. Besides that, NHL, we know about the logjam as I pulled the standings here. Why isn't this tab? Here we go. The standings have pretty much been status quo other than the Islanders being out of it, as I've just detailed here. But you have, in the East, Carolina 2-point advantage over Tampa for the 1 seed in the conference. Tampa now has a 2-point lead over both Buffalo and Montreal as they're tied with 100. Tampa has a game in hand, so keep that in mind. Penguins now have a 6-point lead over the Flyers. They have the 2 seed locked unless they collapse here. Now, we all know the Flyers, that could either be taken away from them by the Islanders or Columbus, because with the wild card, Boston has a 5-point lead over Ottawa right now, so they're in cruise control there. But with Ottawa at 90 points, the Islanders 89, Detroit, Columbus at 88, and the Capitals at 87. This is going to be a fight to the finish. And they're lucky that both the Red Wings and Blue Jackets have fallen apart here, because if not, the Islanders would be in even deeper trouble if it wasn't because of those 2 teams and their losing streaks. So you got to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, uphill battle. Now the West, Colorado, they're going to have the President's Trophy in 1 seed, as I talked about. Dallas, 8 points behind the Avalanche. But the Wild are now 2 points behind the Stars. And that's big, because if the Wild were to pass the Stars in the division, they will host the opening round against the Stars. And they've won 3 in a row here. So I'll have to keep that in mind as we get deeper into the week. Edmonton, tied with Anaheim at the top. Anaheim is falling flat on their face here, losing 5 in a row. And with the Golden Knights now 1 point behind Anaheim, they could overtake them for an opening round wild card. But you can also remember this too. If Vegas wins, they'll leapfrog over both teams and get back to first place, where it'll knock Edmonton and Anaheim down a couple of pegs. So that is also going to be a battle royale to the end. Then you have Utah, 5-point lead over Nashville. And Nashville, we talked about that tough schedule the other day. Nashville, who beat the Kings and the Sharks on the road, they're going to play the Kings tonight again, who are trying to put a death knell to their playoff hopes. But Nashville playing the Kings tonight, enormous game. Why? Because those two teams are going to go at it. But Nashville has a brutal schedule down the stretch, so who knows if they're going to fade. But with the Kings winning tonight, they'll be in the 2 seed for the wild card there. But you have San Jose at 79, St. Louis 78, Winnipeg 78. I understand Seattle and the Calgary Flames are alive, but I'm going to take them out right now. But you have San Jose, St. Louis, and Winnipeg, 3 points, and for San Jose, 2 points behind Nashville for that final wildcard spot. And that's what you like. You want to see drama down the stretch. NBA doesn't have that unless you're into the play-in scenario in the East. But with the schedule this forthcoming week, tonight, Tampa at Buffalo. So there you go. You want to talk about who wants to take care of the division. Big game there tonight. And they had the game of the year, if you remember, early this year, or maybe about a month or so ago. Seattle at Winnipeg, huge game there. If Seattle wants to get closer to the playoff picture. Chicago at San Jose, Nashville at LA, games that all have playoff implications tonight. Tomorrow, ESPN doubleheader, Philly at New Jersey. Why? I don't know. Edmonton at Utah, 9:30. Tampa at Ottawa, games that matter. Florida at Montreal. Columbus at Detroit, enormous game there. Boston, Carolina, Colorado, St. Louis. Calgary, Dallas, Seattle, Minnesota. Edmonton at Utah. Vegas, Vancouver, and Nashville at Anaheim. Then you have Wednesday, Buffalo at New York, the Rangers, Washington at Toronto, Edmonton at San Jose, big game for San Jose, where that game and the Buffalo Ranger game is on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. And then I'll lead you into Thursday, and we'll talk about Thursday on the podcast at that time. All right, now let me turn my attention to baseball. Don't worry, I'll get to the comments. I'll get to those momentarily. Baseball, as I get in the batter's box, lace up the cleats. I have to say, the first week and a half of this baseball season has been fantastic. There's no other way to put it. Now, I got some injuries to report, which I'll get to. But think about this with Major League Baseball. They're coming off of an epic World Series, an all-time Game 7 last November, which I will get to in a moment. Not the game, but the matchup. You have, or had, a WBC, which even got me interested. And I believe that USA-Venezuela game, the game was on Fox. I believe it drew 11 million people. 11 million people for an exhibition game. Think about that. That's unheard of. I mean, NBA Finals games don't even get that. I think the first couple of games, OKC and Indiana last year, they were getting 8.5 million. And here it is, baseball for, all right, it's a final, but it's, again, World Baseball Classic. See you in 3 years. I get it that USA was involved, but that got 11 million people watch that game. And then the start of the season, where the Pirates are flying high, and they bring up Connor Griffin, this 19-year-old wonder kid, in his first at-bat, an RBI double. And after a 1-3 start by the Buccos, they're now 6-3. The Brewers Now, is anybody going to believe in the Brewers? No, but they piggyback off of last year, winning 97 games, the most games in the sport. They're 7-2. The Dodgers, no surprise, sweeping Washington, and they were down 6-1 in the game yesterday before coming back to win 8-6. They're 7-2. The Yankees, of course, I got to bring them up, but lost yesterday. They could have been 8-1. They had a 4-1 lead in the game, and then the Marlins chipped away. They had a 4-run eighth inning, although they made it interesting in the ninth and actually had a chance to win, but were unable to. But their starting staff, now Max Fried came back to earth a little bit. I get it that it's had to sit through a 3.5-hour rain delay, what have you, but Yankees are 7-2. Now, the fans are getting a little bit crazy. Can I just throw this in the mix, people? Fans are getting a little bit over the moon with this team, and I get it. Great start. Cam Switlu is going to pitch tomorrow against the A's. Can't argue that. But what I could argue is they played nobody. I get it. Oh, the Marlins came in at 5-1. You know the Marlins beat before coming into Yankee Stadium? They swept the Rockies and beat the White Sox 2 out of 3. World beaters, they are not. And the Yankees, they beat up on a giant team that is, come on. Even the Mets won 3 out of 4. Now, listen, I know that's a knock on the Mets a little bit because they lost that first game, but they won the next 3, and they were losing 2-1 in the 8th inning yesterday before scoring 4 runs in the 8th. Sorry, Val, I know you're watching, but again, this is our year. I feel it. Yankee this, Yankee that. We're not even at tax day, and here we are talking about the Yankees having a special season. Come on, guys, pump the brakes, please. To the Yankee fans out there, you can be excited. You can be geeked up. Wow, 7-2. I wasn't expecting it. I'd sign it. I don't want to hear none of this about, we're going back to the series. Who in the American League is going to beat us? Come on. Really, people? So I got to throw that. But no, 7-2 start. Can't knock it. Great start. Terrific. Here's what else we got in baseball that has been I'll get to the bad in a minute. The Astros. Do you know the Astros in their first 10 games? What are they 7? No, I think they're 6-4, right? Yeah. 6-4. All right, did them on the Red Sox midweek last week. And this weekend, what did they lose? 2 out of 3 to the A's? Yes, they did, including yesterday. It was a wild game. The Astros are averaging 10 runs a game. No, I take that back. 7 runs a game. They played 10 games. 7 runs. I mean, what is this? The Astros of 2022 with Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, who's back now healthy, and now they lost Hunter Brown. He's going to be on the IL with a shoulder strain, so that's one that the Astro fans are going to have to hold their breath. But I didn't think the Astros were going to have a good start, and here they are at 6-4. And you want to say the Marlins 6-3? Hey, give it up. And I thought that was a good win for them yesterday. They came back, as I mentioned, and they didn't get embarrassed. Now they got embarrassed opening day, 8-2. They lost there on Saturday. But listen, won the game yesterday. Kudos. And even the Cardinals have been a surprise. Reds, Angels are 5-5. There's a lot of things that you like that you see so far early in this baseball season. And now that's going to lead into the schedule this week. Yeah, because other than that, I mean, I can get to the injuries. I know Mookie Betts now on the IL. He's nursing an oblique. But here's the thing with the Dodgers. They could have all the injuries they want. As long as they're all healthy by October, that's all that's going to matter. So that's what you have there in that regard. But with the schedule, as I said before, I don't like it that they put these games on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. Could they put these games maybe around Memorial Day? That would have been cool. Or let's say the 4th of July. Imagine that. But tonight, you have a full schedule that is highlighted by the LA Dodgers at the Toronto Blue Jays. And yes, it's good to rekindle that early in the season. I don't know how many people are going to watch. Is the game on, it's on FS1. All right, for those who have that. And I'm sure you're going to see all the highlights and all the whatever, the memories from last year in an epic World Series. But I just wish that this series was later on in the year. Now, as it is, the Blue Jays come in here limping. They just got swept by the White Sox. And here I am talking about, who are the Yankees beating? Meanwhile, Toronto went in there and they got beaten up by the Pale Hose. So I'm sure sold out crowds. Let me see the pitching matchups. That'd be fascinating. Justin Robleski, he's the left-hander against Max Scherzer. All right. Tomorrow, are we going to have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Kevin Gossman? You got a good matchup there. And then Shohei Ohtani versus Dylan Cease. Listen, you got the matchups all aligned right. And those are going to be 3, I'm sure, high-intensity playoff-type games. Let's see if the Blue Jays can get back on the beam here because they come in here hurting. As I mentioned, Dodgers coming off a sweep of the Nationals, and then the Blue Jays getting swept by the White Sox. That is the series that's going to highlight the early portion of this week. Besides that, Kansas City at Cleveland, not bad. Red Sox, 2-6. 2-7 to start the year. Ranger Suarez, 0-2 at an 8.5 ERA. Free agent import from Philly. Let's see. Philadelphia at San Francisco. Yeah, the rest of the schedule is, Mets and Yankees are both off. And I'll explain in a moment. Cincinnati at Miami. San Diego at Pittsburgh. St. Louis at Washington. Baltimore at Chicago, the White Sox. Chicago at Tampa, the Cubs. Seattle at Texas. Detroit at Minnesota. Houston, Colorado. Atlanta at the Angels. And Philly at San Francisco. Yeah, so that'll do it. And the Mets will host the D-backs tomorrow, and the Yankees will host the A's. In fact, the A's will be in New York all week. A's will play the Yankees for 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they'll play the Mets over the weekend, where Jeff McNeil will make his return to Citi Field. And you know what? How is he doing so far? Should I take a look at that? Because I have no clue. And I know the A's, they have an excellent lineup. They can mash. Pitching, not so much. But let's see if I bring up the stats. Oh, he's bad. 174 with 1 RBI. I don't know how many games he's played. He's been in 8 games, 4 hits, and 23 at-bats. Yeah, very bad. So that's what you have there with the baseball on the schedule. Yeah, other than that, the injuries, you're talking about Mookie Betts, Hunter Brown. That's what you have there. And one quick thing with Connor Griffin, who signed also on the dotted line, 9 years, $140 million deal. I said this last week. I'll say it again. Any word on your ace pitcher, Paul Skeens? Bob Nutting, the owner, Ben Sherrington, the GM, don't you want Paul Skeens to be a part of your rotation for the next 6 years? I said 6 years, $240 million. Now, his agent has to be who I think it is, right? Let's look that up. Who is Paul Skeens' agent? It has to be Mr. Scott. No, it's not. Good to know. He's represented by ISC, Independent Sports and Entertainment, Matt McConnell, and Michael Holloman. But yeah, I can already see it now. As he gets closer, he'll fire those agents. I mean, please, I could be Paul Skeens' agent, and I could get him $300 million. Seriously, come on. Who are we kidding here? So that's what we have with the baseball. And let me wrap up with the football before I get to your questions, comments, and all that. As I put on my helmet and shoulder pads, you had a retirement in the sport. Well, let me get to the signing. Jacksonville signs their defensive end, Trayvon Walker, number 1 pick, 2023, I believe. Overall, 4 years, $110 million. He probably got whatever guaranteed, probably somewhere $60, $70, $80 million. So congratulations to him as Jacksonville tries to build off of last year, getting to the playoffs, winning a division, losing to Buffalo in that opening round, if you recall. But the retirement was the former Defensive Player of the Year, very good corner, Buffalo, New England, Dallas, and that would be Stephon Gilmore. Very good defensive back. I believe won that with the Patriots. That defensive player of the year may have been, is that the year they won the Super Bowl? In 18? Quite possibly. I have to look that up. But kudos to Stephon Gilmore in the next stage of his career, whatever he has planned, whatever he's going to do. Congratulations. And Trayvon Walker with a big deal there down in Jacksonville to make sure that the defense could stay intact there, led by their number one overall, who was hurt a lot last year. In his first 2 years, he had 10 and 10.5 sacks. Last year, 3.5 sacks, but hopefully he can bounce back to his first and second year status as opposed to last year. And I believe that's it with the football. Let me just double check. Yeah, that is it. All right, let's get to these comments. Scrolling all the way up, of course. Bio. Greetings. And Val. 4 more games too. You want to talk about Patrick Watt being fired on your previous live? You said you were going to discuss that. And which I did. Sure you heard? Oh, look at this. Mark Salmon's in the house. Yes, congrats to UCLA. The Lady Bruins. Brock Purdy enjoys fishing this offseason. All right, a little rest and relaxation for him. Mark Salmons. Thoughts on Deontay Wilder, a.k.a. to this day. What, those comments that he made about having his 8th kid or I don't even know. I believe he has 8 kids. I don't know what to say. I know he came out with that. Deontay Wilder's going to say some wild stuff, pun intended. If that's what you're referring to, I mean, what can I tell you? Fishing Angel. Good afternoon to you. J-Rod. I know it's flying high right now. Oh, yeah. Dusty May is way better than John Shire. Goes without saying. Bio wishing good luck. Yes, good luck to Go Blue. As you know, I'm rooting for you guys big time. UConn never took to the finals. UConn will win. Fuqua, a.k.a. Everyday Mets. Jonathan Sean Cup. Rhoda Penmark. Tatsuya Mai. Minnesota Fats. My guy. Who, by the way, can I shout you out, Fuqua? He is back. His leg is 100%. Great to hear. Our guy Fuqua is healed and ready to go. Bio, that was a beatdown by UCLA. Yep. No, I sure was. Fuqua, you have to choke to lose. But yeah. That I agree. Cheapest viewers. Okay. Big Ten. Nah, Big Ten best. Now you're talking about for overall basketball. Basketball for sure this year. Last year was the SEC, but they've been powerhouse for sure. 93-85. Yeah, I'm going 82-70. I want to see Fishing Angels prediction. Let me think. If Fishing Angels had a prediction about this game tonight, $111.35. I see UConn won twice Champions League. They're born to win. Yeah, they are. They have that DNA. I cannot deny that. UConn's a loaded team those years, like Michigan this season. Yeah. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if they won. UConn, that is. Hurley could have been NBA head coach. We stayed at UConn win championships. Yeah, I know. Obviously, the Lakers were hot on his heels, but we know that didn't happen. Hurley's the coach. He don't play the games. I remember correctly. Not one player from those teams is still there. Well, the only player that's still there from those teams, the champion team is Alex Caravan, their center, who has not played well in this tournament. Let's call it as we see it. But again, he's the type of guy like he did in the Duke game. Oh, so I'm getting a call here. My apologies. Yeah, that's from my dentist appointment I have tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. But at the same time, not. And I don't mind going to the dentist as I digress for a second. Not that I mind it, but just so you know, because I like to be transparent with these people. This front tooth, I'm getting it replaced. Actually, a fake tooth. Got in a bike accident, 1989, Central Park. Thankfully, I landed on my chin and then hit the tooth. I checked my tooth. Thankfully, I didn't land on my noggin. Who knows if I still be here? Thank you, good Lord. But yeah, so it's one of those things. I have to take it out, put an impression, and I get the new one. Yeah, because I've had this over, it's going to be 22 years. It's a little bit long in the tooth, no pun intended, but not to get all whatever as I'm in the camera. But yeah, so that's tomorrow at noon. So yeah, wish me luck on that. Yeah, coach, only don't play the games. Yeah, no, they have Caravan, but yeah, they have the DNA though. Too much size for UConn. I don't see them winning. They're not going to get blown out, but I don't see them winning. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I don't see them getting blown out, but I understand intangibles can only take you so far, but at the same time, they can still take you pretty far. I was almost right about the score. You know what? That's funny. What was it? You said 95-25? Not bad. Not bad, Fishing Angel. That was a good one. Yes. Oh, God. I can't stand his face. I agree with you there, J-Rod. He was in his feelings. That he's not. Yeah, he was. Good point there, the novice. 100%. Good live. Thank you, Val. Val, hello. Looks like everyone's on the other video. It's on the other video? Oh, I may have missed that. I may have to go back. Marin of the Monster game tonight. 74, 3 blocks. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, Maurice Johnson. Yeah, he's definitely been. He was great the other day. Fuqua's on the UConn train here. Yes, they have momentum. Team of Destiny history, as I mentioned. I know. But yeah, Fuqua, did you not see, as I know, here's J-Rod. Did you not see that game there Saturday night? They just bludgeoned the Arizona. Literally. No, I was going to say literally, but that's the thing. You wonder, is Michigan going to come out like that again tonight? That's the only question I have. Lakers' future looks bright. These injuries open the doors for them to be active free agency and start building for the future. Yeah, that's a good point. Excellent, Donavis, 100%. Juan, my man. Don't know if you're still with us, but Michigan just set the record for winning. Yeah, and the only team in the tournament that scored at least 90 games. They have been a juggernaut. I mean, there's nothing else to. And the other thing is, too, is that although UConn did it, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they, yeah, I mean, they haven't really played any tough games. And when you don't play tough games, when you don't have like that one signature game where, ooh, you got out alive, you definitely don't want to save it for the last game. But that's another thing I'd be concerned if I'm Michigan tonight. That's why it's even more pedal to the metal for them to win. Stephen Seth shared a court, first time in their careers. Yes, that was last night in the game against Houston. Oh, wow. Did they really? The number one recruit? Good for them. Yax was playing. Oh, yeah. Listen, he'd have to come out the court with crutches and no legs in order for him not to play. Yes. And I hope they do too, Fishing Angel. Let's see. Yep, Red Wings lost. Let's see. Hold on. Minnesota 5. Oh, that's your score. Predicting. All right, Fishing Angel. I know Red Wings have hit the skids here. Giannis is a future Laker. Wow, Giannis and Luka on the same team. Well, who are they going to give up? Austin Reaves got to be in that deal, don't you think, Donavis? Come on, it was going to be Rui Hachimura and Jake LaRavia and who else? Dalton Connect. I don't know. Is he even still on the team? I can't speak. My tongue is tied. Dalton Connect. Is he APB out for him? All right, Pistons held back Cade. Going to play this week. Well, that's good. Wait, what is it? Okay. No, that's good. And yeah, going back to your comment there. Pistons obviously have the 1 seed. They should play him a few games here if he's healthy. we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully Cade does come back because you want to see the best competition out there. That's all there is to it. Yes. Late happy Easter as a Red Wing fan. Good riddance. Yeah, I was shocked at that, not trade, but when he got signed, I said, wait a minute, this Patrick Roy's becoming coach? And he's had his moments, he's done well, but yeah, he got rung up. I thought Buffalo was a team. Yeah, no, they had the longest drought, and it was 15 seasons also. Now the Jets have it. In fact, the Jets and Buffalo were tied, but because now Buffalo has clinched a playoff spot, that distinction now belongs to the Jets. Buffalo at 10 seasons, Red Wings at 9. Yeah, the Red Wings, though the Buffalo had the most in the NHL for sure. No, you're right about that, Jay, but it was 15 years. I think 2010-11 was the last time they made the playoffs. Yes, they did, Fishing Angel. Tigers. Show Moonshiners, you think it's a real or a set? Oh, is that the, hold on, wait. Yeah, isn't that the, what's the name of it? The reality show? Jeez, I'm overthinking this. It's real dang good show. All right, I got to keep that on my radar. Watching you live and it's oh, thank you, Fishing Angel. I'm ready for this game to be over tonight. I'm ready to cut my hands, Jay. That's it. You're growing it out for the postseason? Sure, I do the same thing when Rand start. Oh, is that right, Bio? Wow, you go through 22 weeks? Good for you. You know what's interesting? If the Islanders make the playoffs, listen, they're usually one and done, but I'll try to grow a playoff beard. But yeah, the way it's looking right now, not the case. Michigan's record in a championship game. Yeah, that's. But then you want to say on the flip side of that, J-Rod, the Huskies are due to lose. And maybe tonight is the night. Oh, wow. It's college basketball. I'm ready for the mid-war. Okay. Clean shaven and mohawk. I do the same for Lions. All right. Yeah, I know you said it the other day. Verlander had 15-day. He had an IL. Bob Fishing Angel tried to. All right. Not once yet. I know. I need my glasses. Why do I always forget to bring them over here? Jeez, it takes me like 10 minutes to read these things. So happy Dusty May. Yeah, no, he's been tremendous. Uh-oh, what's this? Oh, wow. Angel Reese traded to Atlanta Dream. Yeah, that's big news. And the W starts when? About 5-6 weeks from now. So good news there, Val. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's very interesting. 95-50. Oh, all right. So you're giving UConn 50. Michigan's whole team is gone. Well, that's even more the reason for them to come out and win a championship. Matt, welcome. How you doing? Update for the year. Moonshine out in the woods. All right. Yaxville, Michigan are going to. Oh, what is this here? All right. Val showing love. Wait, I try Moonshine once. Yeah, that's what Moonshine will do to you. Absolutely, Bio. Yeah, that's like it's pure alcohol. Oof, just the thought of it. Yeah, that's rough stuff. Michigan's the best team out there. Yes. I agree. Master Barnes in today's game. Yeah, I like Barger, the right fielder there for the Blue Jays. Way to go, Val. That's a good one. I agree. Have to have some water mixed. Yeah, no, it's that moonshine. Whew. They have a Puerto Rican version of that called Pitoro, which is really good. And they make it with different flavors. They put like coconut and pineapple, tamarind. It's great stuff. All right, let's see what else we got in sports here, people, because that will pretty much do it. Lamar reports for beginning of Ravens workouts. Oh, Jackson, let me see. I'm just trying to read this. I'll read this afterwards. I don't know why I'm reading this. Now I'm on live with you guys and gals. So, all right, let's see. Whiskey and Water was my jam for a very long time. All right. Well, hang on. I don't want to do that. Matt saying hi. What is happening here? Hold on. Let's go to the next one. Whiskey and Water, my jam. All right. Whiskey, cherry, Coca-Cola. Wow. That's got to be potent. I can see that. All right, people. That will just about do it. Unless you got something else to bring up, discuss. What I'll do is I'll go through my closing, and then I can come back with the comments. Oh, that's got to be delicious. I know I'm not much of a whiskey guy, although I had it on my birthday, but special occasion, of course. Oh, head to Tom whiskey. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, good for you, J-Rod. And Fishing Angel, yes. With that said, that'll do it, my good people. Another episode just about in the books, as always. Thank you so much for stopping by, carving out precious time out of your day to listen to what it is about the toy department of life, otherwise known as sports. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe, rate, review, Apple, Spotify, podcasts. Don't be a few stars, write a review. Of course, the channel here on YouTube at JAYREELZ. Always bringing the pain on everything that's happening in the world of sports. Independent sports media at its finest. No clickbait, no rage bait, just true, passionate sports talk made by a lifelong sports fan for you guys, gals, and sports fans. So if you could go ahead and hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. I got some more content down the road. Keep it locked on the channel. I'll inform you on what's happening there. And if you want to hit me up with any questions, comments, suggestions, you can do so at the following: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the JAYREELZ Podcast, or JAYREELZ on Instagram. Twitter, JAYREELZ1, just a number. Twitch, JAYREELZ1, just a number. The old-fashioned way, the JAYREELZ Podcast at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to follow up with you guys and gals, because whether you do or do not know, this is what I love to do, people, in the blood and the DNA since birth, talking sports. You already know my diehards. I appreciate you all for stopping by always on the podcast on a Wednesday live stream at high noon. Definitely don't want to miss that Eastern time. Another podcast coming at you Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on top of the podcast pregame on Thursday. Today I had a technical difficulty. Thanks to the novice for assisting with that. But again, where else are you going to get all these sports in roughly a little over an hour? Breaking it down, the critiques, the praise. As long as I'm in front of this microphone and camera, I promise I will deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on all of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from I am, wherever you are, the JAYREELZ Podcast always comes live, correct, directed, and full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hopefully, I will see you and look forward to seeing you there on Thursday's live stream, 12 noon Eastern time, to chop it up more about sports. And until next time, on the flip, baby. Now, all right, let me get back to the comments here. Yes, I will. Fishing Angel. Why? Oh, I hate it. Wait, is the game starting at 9? Maybe it's 8:30. I should know that. I thought they moved it up. Did they not? Yeah, here it is. Sky trade Reaves to Dream for 2 first-rounders. Yeah, that's, that's big. 8:50. They should be starting that game at 8:15. So it could be done by 11. I don't know why they do that. Yes, Bio. Great sports day to you. Fishing Angel. Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate it. Yes, go blue tonight. We'll all be watching. Yes, good luck to your Wolverines there. As Bio says, and I say to you, yes, yes, yes. Bring that natty back to the Big Ten where it belongs. I like it. I like it. I like it. Yes, I do not want UConn. I don't want Danny Hurley. I don't want, no. I don't care. Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton. Go on down the list. Charlie Villanueva. No. I don't want to see UConn win again. Ben Gordon. No. So that's what I got, people. So again, appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time on the flip. Thank you guys so much as always.